Hello everybody, Storm Chaser Drew Brown here. Just waiting for everyone to join on here, and then we'll start talking about this winter. Just live on Instagram not too long ago. I just ended that feed about 10 minutes ago. So if you guys want to see the Instagram live feed, you can hop over there. Otherwise, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment. Time is of 10:01 on November 14. So I'm just gonna wait just a few seconds here for anyone that wants to hop on. Otherwise, I'm just gonna go right into it and start describing about what I'm expecting generally for this winter, and if you guys have any questions related to that. So yeah, all right, I think I'm gonna dive into it. So one thing I want to say about this winter is, how should I say this? It's going to be an El Niño pattern, which most of you have probably heard of that term before. And that term basically means the water temperatures by the equator in the Pacific Ocean are basically warmer than normal. And when you have that, that can drastically change our weather pattern in the United States. Usually that means the polar jet, which is over the Great Lakes region, plains usually, is weaker than normal. And the subtropical jet, which is the areas down by the southeast, southern part of the United States and northeast, can get more active weather. And if you guys are wondering what jet streams are, basically they cause our weather to happen. They're basically a very key source for any significant weather to happen. So with that being said, I'm going to pull up what a typical El Nino pattern looks like, and then I'll show you guys what the National Weather Service is generally expecting for this winter. All right, so I'm going to pull this up here quick. So right here is what the typical El Nino pattern looks like. Kind of like what I was saying, you have that polar jet stream up here, and usually it's a little bit weaker. And then you have the subtropical jet down here, and you can see right where that wet pattern can be. You usually have a warmer pattern, and usually speaking, anywhere around the southern part of the United States can get lots of active weather, whether that's severe weather or snow. That just depends on how strong the jet is. And in this case, the Northeast, it's so strong that the Northeast could be involved as well. So if we look at this right here, this kind of describes about our chances of having a strong El Nino. There's a 65% chance of that happening, and there's a 95% chance of this El Nino to continue into this winter. So it's almost certain that we're going to have this kind of a setup for this winter. So this is what they're generally expecting. The one I just passed by is an older one. This is a newer one. They're really thinking the Great Lakes area could see really below average temperatures, not temperatures, precipitation, I mean, especially by Michigan. And generally speaking, the temperatures to be warmer than average across the northern part of the United States. Once again, these are very general descriptions. So with the temperatures being generally warmer, that technically does mean we could see a lesser chance of snow when you combine these two factors into play here, compared to our last winter, where we basically had really kind of cooler temperatures. We didn't really have a huge temperature extreme, but we had a lot of basically a very active winter. Last winter was very active and had a lot of snow. So yeah, that's basically the general part for this winter. So if you guys have any questions related to that, feel free to comment. I've rarely used Facebook, so we'll see how this goes. Oops, that was not what I wanted to do. So you can already see how I'm already struggling with this. Let's see here. But yeah, no, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment. I'm just going to continue talking about this winter. So I was hoping to comment here. If I can, that does not comment. If anyone else want to comment, oh, there we go. I found it. All right, I'm just going to tell you guys right now what I'm generally expecting. So if anyone's coming in here and wants to know, and if I'm already done talking about it, they can see it in the comments, or they can see the live stream once I am done with the live stream. All right, so generally speaking, we are just expecting just a more quiet pattern. That's just the general part, but I'm gonna get into more specifics really soon. So. But yeah, if you guys have any questions that you can think of, feel free. There's a lot that I'm planning to talk about, and if you guys have those questions, you can help me remember what I have to talk about, because there's a lot to talk about. All right, I just commented that. I don't know if you guys can see that. Do you guys see the comment? The comment I just said? All right, I see it right now. So, like I said, generally speaking, we're expecting a slightly quieter pattern. That does not mean that we won't see snow. We won't see snowstorms. We will. We will see snowstorms. We will see basically huge events, really. Any freezing rainstorms, those are still possible. Really, all the variables in play don't change. Basically, this outlook does not say we will not see blizzards, we will not see this threat. We will. It's just the chances of it happening are basically what these outlooks tell you. So, if I had to guess, like what parts of the season would be more active than others, generally speaking, I think the start of the winter will be quieter. That's just my opinion. I could easily be wrong, and who knows? Maybe we'll get all of our snow in December. I don't know. We did have that in November, December. We had a lot of snow. January was quiet, and then February, March was just a mess. March actually was really quiet. So, yeah. Well, I guess if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment. Let me see the comments. If you guys have anything here, not yet. All right. So, if anyone that's a parent or class, anyone that I would know. Parent, child, teenager, who cares? If you guys have any questions about like snow day chances, generally speaking, if you have a quieter winter, it usually means less of a chance of a snow day. I'm not expecting a crazy high-end winter like we did last winter. I know last winter was pretty bad. If anyone can remember that, we had blizzard during Christmas break. We had lots of freezing rainstorms. I think February, late February. I mean, we will get those kind of storms, don't get me wrong, but the chances of them happening are slightly less than what they would typically be. So that's really what I'm trying to kind of point out here. But yeah, like I said, the chances, like if you're ever having questions like, well, what are the chances of us having a white Christmas? What are the chances of us having lots of snow on January or February? Technically speaking, there's a lesser and lesser chance of that happening because of the pattern that we're in. And the pattern that we're in is an El Nino, which basically means that we're going to have temperatures slightly above normal, and basically precipitation chances will be less. Especially the precip is really the main point I want to make here. But there's 2 points I really want to make about this winter, basically this winter outlook. Is one, don't underestimate this winter. And one point I want to prove with that is sometimes we might have slightly above average temperatures and maybe we'll have normal precipitation. I'm not expecting a lot of above average precip where we just get snow every single day. I mean, that's a possibility, but I'm not expecting that to be a consistent thing like last winter. So we might get something where we might get a 32-degree day in January or February, because of those slightly above average temperatures. Because you have to remember, this is average. This isn't like, oh, we're going to see 50-degree weather all winter long. That's not true. You might get a day in late January where our average temperature could be the mid-20s. And if you have above average temperatures, you can get temperatures around the 30s, which, yes, that can melt snow maybe. But usually whenever we're in a drier pattern that never stays put, atmosphere is always trying to balance itself out with equal temperatures basically, and that's never going to stay consistent. So you might have really dry, nice weather and then really active weather, down south or over here. That's not going to be a thing for the whole entire winter. it might be longer than our active season or active part, but we're going to have it where we're going to have basically a huge snow system that might move through. And the point that I'm trying to prove here is we might have temperatures, in the 30s or, maybe 40s during the afternoon, and then it'll drop into the low 30s during the night. If you have a system that's going to move through during that time span, you're going to get events where you're going to get really wet, heavy snow, freezing rain, and sleet to be all possibilities and threats throughout the state of Michigan or anywhere in the Great Lakes, really. So that's something to always be mindful about, because you can have something where it's below average temperatures and below average for precip. And that means there could be less of a chance of that like wet, sticky snow. Usually you get that huge, clumpy, heavy, wet snow when you have temperatures around the 30-degree mark or basically high 20s. But if you have temperatures in the teens, when we get any snow, there's less moisture in the air. So that basically means there's less water in the snowflake, which basically means it's lighter, fluffier, more easier to basically float around, blow around, which that can have its own threats as well. That could maybe produce blizzard conditions a lot more easily because when the snow is lighter, it can blow around more easily, and then you have to worry about that. And then if you have wet, heavy snow, then you have to worry about basically, how should I say this? More like shoveling the snow. That can be a problem. A lot of people can get heart attacks or back problems with shoveling snow in a not proper technique, like making sure you're using your legs, not your back. And it usually is more dense. So if your car tire, or really any tire, doesn't matter what tire you have, if it hits that snow, you're gonna start sliding. It's gonna want to pull you off the road basically. So, and that was what I had in October 31. We already had our first snow much earlier than what was anticipated, and much more than what they were anticipating as well. And it just caused a disaster in Muskegon County, especially, where there were still leaves in the trees. And if you have that wet, heavy snow, that's going to bend it and it's going to break. It was a mass power outage basically in the areas of Muskegon. And I was in that area and it was bad. Traffic was just at a standstill. People were getting stuck left and right. That's always a possibility with these setups. And our lake temperatures this past summer were pretty warm, and they still are. So really, if there's any major snow system that moves through November or December, that's something to really keep an eye on. Especially if we have, like I said, nice weather, no rain, nice warm temperatures, kind of like what we're having now. This is kind of like a good example. And then we might have a huge snow system, which I think in these next few weeks, especially around Thanksgiving or just after Thanksgiving, there seems to be a chance of some sort of low pressure system, whether it's rain or snow. Still a little too far out yet, but there's something big coming up really soon. It's still way too far out for specifics, but it's something that I'm keeping an eye on. But that's just one thing I really want to kind of slam on as an important thing right now. And what was the other thing? Basically, the other point that I wanted to make is what I was kind of relating to before, is these patterns are not solid. They're not going to be December. December, February, January, and February. Those are the 3 months that this outlook is for. It's not just going to be those 3 months where we're just going to be warm and below. It's going to be a pattern change. You're always going to have pattern changes. That's just how our weather works. So it's just usually we're going to see more quieter weather in Michigan more often than active weather. That's all that's saying. It's not saying, oh, we're not going to see snowstorms. We're not going to see bad weather. We're going to see bad weather. It's going to happen. How often? Usually not as often, because like I said, we have more of that pattern where it's going to be quieter. So it's just something to be mindful about. And I think there's a lot of people out there that usually like to look at these outlooks and they just think this winter is going to be nice and we won't have to worry about anything. And then there's going to be a huge storm that's going to move through, and then people are going to be like, what? I thought you guys said it was going to be nice this winter and we're going to have warm temperatures and all that. That's just not how it works, guys. We aren't like fortune tellers. We predict, and predictions can be wrong. So that's the point I want to make here. All right, question here. Will we get a winter clipper system soon? Okay. Looking at the current models, I was actually doing that before I went live on Instagram, and really this week is looking really nice. We're gonna hit 60s. Really, if there's any kind of nice activities that you guys are planning to do outside, whether it's golfing or just anything outdoors, do it now, because the chance of us hitting up to 60 degrees is not that great of a chance, especially once we get into late November and December. Not impossible, especially with the sub that we have, but it's still not looking likely. And then we're gonna have a huge cold front that's gonna move through. That will bring a lot of rain and wind. It's not gonna be big enough where we'll get snow. We might have a little bit of lake effect mixing into it. We're gonna have some short range models actually that are gonna be coming out soon. I can actually look at one quick right now if I can pull it up here. And then basically after that, it's gonna be slowly basically a cooling trend, and then the chances of snow or rain are definitely gonna increase. It's shown by the National Weather Service too. Prince Ella snowstorm, yes, I do see, yes, that's a good point, Kyle. I did see that. I was actually kind of talking to my weather classmates about that. Was the 26th. It's showing on the newest model run, GFS. Yeah, the 0Z's not out yet. Basically a huge snow system that's going to move through and hit Michigan. And yes, you do make a good point. It is way too far out, and I agree with that. In fact, even there was another small snow clipper system that was predicted to move through just before Thanksgiving, shown by the GFS, but then the European just shows it just being rain or nothing at all. So that's one thing I will say about this winter is when you're looking at models, especially if like news, any like news channel that prints them out, don't take them seriously. We had a problem last winter. I'm not going to say who or what, where we had a tricky system and weather forecasters were trying to forecast for them, and it was very tight margins. Like we're talking about 30-minute drive difference where it was like 8 inches and 4 inches. And it was a very tricky situation, and they were slightly off, and there were a ton of comments. It was so obvious of just people all mad about it. And it's just, people need to understand is these are models. They're not going to be right all the time, and there's a huge variety. And the error percentage, I think, for the winter is a lot bigger than the severe weather prediction. So that's just something to be mindful about. I'm not saying any of you guys are going to be people that are going to be just saying mean stuff on Twitter or anything like that. It's more just your typical people that want to get people mad. But that's just something to be mindful about. So, but no, I am definitely watching this Thanksgiving break. There could be something either during or after where we could have a pretty big storm moving through. It's not going to be all just 1 inch. It could be something maybe more significant. Right now I'm trying to see if there's any signs of backside lake effect snow. I don't want to be talking about the current weather right now. I want to be more focused on this current pattern, but I'll take a quick glance for anyone that's wondering, I guess. Let's see here. But yeah, if you guys have any questions related to anything about weather, now's the time to ask. I'm not going to be live all the time, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. All right, I do see a little bit from the NAM 3K, maybe a hint of lake effect by Lake Superior, maybe by Cadillac, but I don't think this is going to be a widespread 6-inch event. So if you guys have any other questions about this winter, feel free to ask. I did have someone comment on Instagram asking if that means our spraying season will come sooner. That is not true. Like I said, this pattern change, or this pattern that's forecasted, is only going to be for 3 months. This is it's not even including this month. It's more including December through February. Those are the only months that's predicted for, and it could change, especially for like February. It could have more variability than December. It just depends. And like I said, the reason why the National Weather Service and other media share this information is to inform people about basically what they're generally thinking. This isn't like a defined thing where it's gonna happen, and it's, that's the thing I really want to stress to people, is this isn't for certain. So GFS shows lake effect behind the 26th system on the 27th, but again could totally disappear in the next run. Yeah, I did see that too. Like I said, if what the GFS is forecasting for the November 26th comes true, we're gonna have a huge, major winter storm with all kinds of threats in play with really, really heavy snow. I actually was looking at the temperatures. The temperatures are gonna be in the 30s potentially. I mean, that's what that run was saying. And if that's true, we're gonna have a huge mess. We're gonna have really, really heavy snow, really wet snow, and it's just gonna be a traffic hazard. And then we're gonna have really strong winds on the backside, and that is gonna cause lake effect snow, and those roads are gonna freeze over. We're gonna have flash freeze, and it'd be really bad if that would be true. But yeah, keep in mind this is almost 2 weeks away, so we're not gonna say this is gonna happen for now, if it would. But yeah, feel free to continue to comment, guys. I appreciate the comments, and it makes things more interesting. I don't want to yabber about everything and not listen to you guys for any questions. This is why we do live streams. We do these streams to be informative and to inform people about what to expect this winter. This isn't something where I'm telling you guys what is going to happen is going to happen. So it's just something where I like to relay information, share information, and just tell you guys about what's all going to happen. So if you guys have any questions about like the Northeast too or anything like that, feel free to ask. This isn't, I guess, just a Michigan forecast. The only reason why I'm doing just Michigan is because I like to do my weather forecast just for Michigan. Could that change? We'll see. So, yeah, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask. Like I said, we still could get freezing rainstorms. Typically, like I did see a data set where in El Nino situations, especially strong El Nino, we can get freezing rainstorms, big freezing rainstorms, which makes some sense. I don't, like I said, I'm not a professional here. I don't have data pulled up right now where I can relate to that, but that's something I'd hope to do in the future. So I'm actually kind of curious. I'm gonna look at the CFS model. It's not like an accurate model to look at precip at all. It's more of a map that you want to look for like long range models, I guess, or patterns. But even still, it's nothing to take and guarantee for. Need this to load. If it can load quicker. Garrett is wondering about snow tornadoes in Michigan. Yeah, so one important thing about for snow tornadoes, in order for them to happen, is you need first snow. Obviously, you need a nice fresh layer of snow, and you need, typically speaking, sunny skies. It's similar to like dust devils, where you basically have heat radiate like on the snow, and when you have a huge temperature contrast, that can cause a pressure difference. And when you have a pressure difference, you can cause wind, and when you cause wind, you can get basically snow tornadoes. It also can happen, I guess, if you are by a building where you have winds that are channeling across the roof and with different temperature gradients, and then they're dropping down. That can cause a brief spin up. But if you want a big size snow tornado, you need clear skies. But hey, guess what? It's Michigan. You're not going to get a lot of clear skies with our lakes. It's going to be cloudy most of this winter. Even with a quieter winter, it's still going to look gloomy. We're not going to have. We'll have more days where it's sunny out because we'll have better chances of more high pressure being around. But it's not going to be like oh, it's going to be sunny out the whole entire time. It's still going to be cloudy. So usually it's more common in other states, especially ones that aren't in the Great Lakes. So like mountain regions are really common where it's like sunny at times when there's always snow on the ground, and then there's more times where if it's sunny out, it's colder there. So that's another thing, is when it's cold. It's colder up there because, it's higher elevation, it's usually colder. So the snow doesn't melt. When the sun's out in Michigan, most of the time the snow starts to melt. So you can kind of see the problem. Unless we're in a huge, cold snap, which does not seem likely for this winter, but we will get times where we'll get cold. Maybe, could we get into the negatives? That's always a possibility. We didn't really get a lot of that last winter due to how active it was, but that's always a possibility. It can happen really in any state. Any state in the United States could get snow tornadoes. It's just well, no, not any state. Florida, like states where it's warm all the time, where you don't have snow, you're obviously not going to get it. So, like places along the southern part of the United States will not see snow tornadoes typically. So, yeah, if that answers your question. So yeah, but yeah, no, like I said, this is just to talk about really just weather in general, but more specifically this winter. It's going to be a very interesting winter. There's a lot of variables in play. It's not just El Nino. There's water temperatures you need to look at. You always have other clear systems. We have, the Rocky Mountains, the Great Lakes, more by our area. And one thing I was kind of proven into when I was live on Instagram just a little bit ago is sometimes when you get storm tracks to follow that subtropical jet stream, you can get it where if it's kinked out far enough north, you can get it where it can clip parts of southeast Michigan. We get snowstorms. I'm trying to think of the huge Texas ice storm that happened. That was recent. That was like 2019, where we just had a huge stretch of just winter storm warnings throughout the whole entire Ohio Valley, including southeast Michigan. So southeast Michigan, I think you guys should be on the watch out this winter for occasional huge storms, potentially, if they can move far enough north, which I think is definitely a possibility. If I had to guess an area in Michigan that wouldn't see a lot of snow, I guess, if I had to guess, I mean, you never can take anything seriously. I'm not an expert, and even the experts are wrong. So I would say almost like central Michigan, you're talking furthest away from the lakes, but far enough north where that subtropical jet won't influence any snowstorms. But you're always going to get snowstorms, clippers from Canada. That's why Michigan is known for its snow during the winter. We just have multiple sources where we can get our snowfall. We get Alberta clippers, we get Colorado systems, and we usually don't get any storm systems that have in the Gulf region. We aren't impacted by those because they're just so far south and they follow that jet stream. So I think they changed the criteria for winter storm warning from 6 to 7 inches or more. Interesting. I did see a little bit of, I thought I saw a little bit of talk of that on Weather Twitter. I just never looked into it. That's interesting, though. I'm trying to think. Yeah. I feel like there were a few times the last winter we had a winter weather advisory for 6 inches. That's still interesting. One point I do want to say, and I've seen it throughout Facebook, like weather posts on Facebook, is especially with the last system, because of how debatable it was, if you're in a winter weather advisory, don't just push it off and be like, well, it's only this much snow. That's a problem, because let's just say you're in 2 to 4 inches, but then there's 50-mile-per-hour winds. That's a problem, because you have the problem of drifting snow, assuming if the temperatures are really cool or cold. So you might be driving on the road and you're thinking, 2 to 4 inches is fine, and then you have visibility just drops instantly. So that's really that's one thing I want to point out is don't just think about snow. Think about other variables like wind chill. Wind is really a huge thing. We can get all kinds of wind storms, especially out in the plains. The plains are known for it. Great Lakes, not so much, I guess, but we can still get them. So that's just one thing I wanted to say there. Okay. Oh, so this isn't official. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. If they do that, I don't know what to think about it. I haven't really thought about that reality, on whether or not I'd like it, but that's an interesting point. If that would happen, but no. What the experts do, I have complete respect for. Our job as weathermen is never easy, and this winter will definitely prove that. It's more difficult to forecast winter weather events because 10 miles of a difference of a low pressure system could be huge in terms of snow accumulation, and that's the same case with severe weather. If a low pressure system drops a little further south, you might have a drop in Cape, or you might have a drop in dew point, but it can still produce some threats still. Like maybe instead of 70-mile-per-hour winds, it could produce 60 or 50. Whereas if it's a winter system, it could be 8 inches to 2 inches, and just like that. So let's see. I'm hoping I didn't miss any comments here. If I did, I'm sorry. I don't really do a lot of live feeds, and that's a thing I should work on more. It's just difficult because I'm in school. For anyone that doesn't know that, I'm at Central Michigan. I'm going for meteorology. I'm a sophomore currently right now, so yeah, still learning a lot of stuff. I'm not a professional that is working right now. I mean, I have a job up here, but it's nothing weather related as of now. Hopefully that'll change this summer. But yeah, if you guys want to follow my page, feel free. I love to storm chase. I try to chase every storm I possibly can for Michigan. You know, obviously if there's something more important related to school or anything, or church or anything like that, I take that more seriously than storm chasing. But if there's ever an opportunity where I can make it work, I will make it work. I just love Michigan weather in general. It's just the variability and changing temperatures, and then you get snow one day and then severe storms another day. Like that to me is one thing that Michigan is really interesting about, or one interesting thing about Michigan. And you can thank our lakes for that. Not too grateful for our lakes usually during the severe weather season, because that means less, you know, they can hinder severe storms, which that's probably good news for some of you guys, because storms are scary, I will say that. So, but as a storm chaser, you want storms, so it's always a hard thing to always mention that. So yeah, we want storms, but not to hurt anybody. That's what we want. But yeah, no, it's just live on Instagram. If you guys are wondering about my Instagram account, it is lightnados1. That is where really both Facebook and Instagram, I just post just weather related stuff. If you want to know where I'm most active on, it's actually Twitter. If you guys are wondering about my Twitter, is uppercase W, uppercase M, Storm Chaser, uppercase D, uppercase B. That is where I love just to share weather content and where I feel the most comfortable. But I always share stuff on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. YouTube account is also Drew Brummel. So, yeah. I really don't have a time limit here, so I guess we can be live for a little bit longer here. For Instagram, I was live from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. So here we can be live a little bit longer if you guys want to, but I think I might end the live feed really soon if you guys do not have any questions. But yeah, I could get a whole lot more specific about this winter pattern, but I do not have the expertise or experience, or right now I don't have the data. I probably could find the data if I really wanted to, but I do not have anything like that pulled up. My goal tonight was to let you guys know about what to generally expect this winter and just the importance of understanding it properly and answer any questions. Because anyone can look at a map, anyone can search up the outlook. It's not that hard. All you do is just type in National Weather Service prediction for this winter, or just really winter weather prediction. You can see all kinds of graphs, and you're going to see above average temperatures and, you know, below average precip. This is for the Great Lakes. It's going to differ for where you live, and you're just going to be like, that's going to happen. You know, I would say probably half of the people would look at that and think that's going to happen, or expect it to happen. So, but yeah, no, I think that's really everything I wanted to talk about. Unless you guys want to talk about anything, I'm open for a little bit longer. I need to work on other homework things and school stuff. It's one disadvantage of, you know, being in school is you have to take responsibilities first and get those taken care of first. So, but yeah, no, this is the time. If you guys have any concerns or interesting facts to pull up about this winter, now is the time. Yeah, so that's really everything I really wanted to talk about basically in relation to this winter. I'm not an expert, you know, I'm still a student at Central, but I just love sharing my information that I could find, not mine, but information that experts release out to just relay to you guys. That's really just the goal that I love to do and enjoy doing. So, But yeah, any questions or just anything interesting to talk about, feel free to talk about it. But yeah, like I said, this winter is generally going to be quieter, but that is not, it's not going to solidify our winter. We're still going to get winter systems to move through, and we could see maybe Southeast Michigan getting a little bit more involved this winter if that subtropical jet can really get those low pressure systems close enough to Michigan. Most of the time, they're going to stay by the northeast, southeast. They're not really going to make it up to Michigan. That's where our polar jet is more influential. So, but yeah, and we still get setups from Canada. This isn't going to be like, oh, only snow chances, along the northeast, only down that where that jet is. We will have times where we will get an Alberta Clipper or, a Colorado snow system from the Rockies, and those ones are known to go through the Great Lakes region. That's why the Great Lakes region, besides the mountains, are just known for its snow. The Northeast, it's like huge extremes. You either get just warm weather, a nice winter, like really warm winter. We're talking 60s consistently or 50s, and maybe lots of rain, or you get the complete opposite and you just get lots of cold weather. I'm not saying for the Northeast that you're going to see 60s all winter long, but it's more common to have that, and that's because of the Atlantic Ocean, because you have that maritime tropical air where it's more influential in the weather. So, and even still, if they're going to be in a more active pattern, it's going to differ on what the temperatures are. If it's going to be 35, they're going to get all rain and no snow. So that's just something to be mindful of. It's going to be interesting about Buffalo, though. Buffalo, New York, and how much snow they're going to get, because they always get hard with lake effect. Last year, they got hit really hard. And mostly with the lake effect, they didn't get hit by any systems from the Atlantic Ocean. That'll be interesting to watch. Yeah. The Gaylord tornado. Yeah, where was I? I was on a class trip. I was a senior in high school in West Virginia, and I heard about that, and I was just shocked because that was like our first major tornado in Michigan in a while. And I think the day after, I kind of like checked it out with my dad for a little bit. So, but yeah, no, yeah, I think I saw your, I think a poster or video from you, Kyle, about that, and that was crazy. What you saw there. So, backed up traffic. Yeah, I think a lot of people just weren't expecting that tornado. Just based on all the videos I saw, it was so unexpected, especially that far up north. But that just kind of shows, and tornadoes can happen anywhere. Even during the winter, we can have it. Maybe, I don't want to get too crazy here, but sometimes if you get above average temperatures during the winter or early spring, that's the concern that we always have in Michigan. So if you ever get too warm, you always have to be on the lookout for tornado potential, because strong tornadoes usually happen in very extreme situations or setups in the northern areas of the Great Lakes. And we saw that a lot in Illinois this spring. Illinois got hit hard this year. So, but yeah, if you guys have nothing else really to talk about for this winter, I think that's going to be it. I kind of, now that I think about after this live feed, I think I'd like to do more weather video, like live feeds, just to talk about weather events. Maybe we can just like have an event where we just talk about famous tornado events or famous hurricane events. I think that would be something I'd love to do in the future. It's going to take a lot of work on my part just to get accurate research and data shown, but that would be something I'd love to do and share with you guys in the future. So, but yeah, if you guys don't have anything else to talk about, I think I'm going to end the live feed then. But this winter will be interesting. We could see a snowstorm in 2 weeks potentially. Still way too far out to say that's going to happen. It could just bust and just be rain, or just no rain at all. It's one thing you want to note about these setups. It's very exciting. A lot of people love snow. Most people love the first snow or major snow. Most of Michigan already saw its first snow, but it's always, interesting, and I have complete respect for it. I'm excited about it too. I'm a guy where I just love snow, but then by the time we get to like February, I'm just sick of it. Severe weather, I'm more like I would love to chase it all year round, but winter weather I have its respect for. It's just the snow is always really cool to see, and the last setup where we got with the snow on the trees, that was definitely one of the best kind of like photogenic kind of things that I was able to see with the snow. So, but yeah. So no, if you guys don't have any more questions, my throat's getting dry too. I've been talking for over 2 hours, so if you have anything else, I think I'm going to leave. I'll wait a little bit longer for anyone else that wants to join and ask any more questions. But otherwise, I think I'm going to head out and pack up and get back to my dorm probably. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. I think I got everybody's questions. But yeah, hopefully this video was helpful. Like I said, I'm going to post this video onto Facebook once I end the feed. I'm just going to quickly just post it. It's going to be out there in a jiffy. The Instagram one is posted now. I'm still trying to post my story, the link for it, so you guys can find it through there. But Instagram and Facebook both have it. Might try to get onto YouTube if I can. It's gonna take a little bit more time if I'm gonna upload it onto YouTube. So I would suggest just looking on Facebook or Instagram for any more weather information that we talked about. So if that is it, then I think I'm gonna head out. So once again, thanks for joining, and never stop chasing.